Good morning, everybody! Happy Friday, June 30th, 2023. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live here on the local show on Rumble, on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever it is you may be watching. Thank you all so much for tuning in. So yesterday was a big day in America. Yesterday was a very big day in America. We can't understate that. The Supreme Court overturned the concept, the notion of affirmative action in this country. Now, this began with college admissions because, it's so interesting when I talk to people about this. I was talking to a few people about it yesterday, and they said, well, so what exactly did the Supreme Court do? And I said they no longer allow race to be a factor in whether or not someone gets into college or not. And a lot of people are befuddled by this. They're very confused. Wait, I thought we did away with that. I thought we did away with race-based quotas in the 1960s. I thought that, that was the whole point of the Civil Rights Act. I thought that was the entire point of getting rid of those sorts of racial preferences in our country. Well, yeah, not so much. Once affirmative action came into play, many universities, particularly our top-notch universities, decided that they were going to screw over the people who are most, how would you say, the people who are most in need or most deserving of this sort of policy. And it's funny because despite what the New York Times said in what can only be described as one of the most racist tweets I've ever seen, let me pull that up for you real quick, in what can only be described as one of the most racist tweets ever, so here's what the New York Times said as a breaking. The Supreme Court rejected affirmative action at Harvard and the University of North Carolina. A major ruling curtails race-conscious college admissions in the U.S., all but ensuring elite institutions become whiter and more Asian and less black and Latino. Really? New York Times, that's what you're going to go with? That's what you're going with? So because we have removed race as an app, it is amazing if you guys go on Twitter or you go on any of the other social media apps to watch the levels of racism coming from your top Democrats. Just the sheer levels of racism. The amount of Democrats who will openly say things like, if we don't give black people an advantage, they can't succeed in life, which is one of the most racist statements I've ever heard. If it is amazing to watch them step all over themselves to try to justify affirmative action, but try not to be racist, because they can't do it. They can't do it. Obviously, Harvard has been in the news for quite some time about this affirmative action program. And for those of you who don't know the history of it, here's actually a phenomenal video from PragerU, which they did a number of years ago. We've been talking about this for a while. Obviously, it takes a while for cases to reach the Supreme Court. But here is it's about 4 or 5 minutes long about the history of race-based quotas at PragerU and how it affects actual students in a real-world setting.
Can you imagine in this day and age an educational institution discriminating against a racial minority? Can you imagine what the outcry would be? You mean you're preventing these qualified students from attending your college because of the color of their skin? Well, you don't have to imagine it. It's happening. And at arguably the most prestigious college in America, my alma mater, Harvard. The ethnic minority isn't blacks or Jews as it was in years past. The target this time is Asian Americans, and it's just as wrong. After millions of dollars in legal fees, millions of records examined, and hundreds of hours of depositions and testimony, Harvard's once purposely opaque admissions policies have been laid bare. It's not a pretty picture. Here's what we now know. Harvard admissions rates student applicants in 3 main ways. 1, academic performance. 2, extracurricular achievements. 3, personal qualities. That's fine as far as it goes if the criteria were applied fairly, but they're not. Asian American applicants consistently score higher in the first 2 criteria, academics and extracurricular activities, which can be objectively assessed, than white students, Latinos, and African Americans. So how does Harvard justify its Asian American quota? with the help of Category 3, personal qualities, which include vague and largely subjective factors like likability, maturity, integrity, and effervescence. According to Harvard's own internal reports, Asian American applicants are routinely and systematically marked much lower on this personality scale by Harvard admissions officers who almost never meet or interview applicants. But here's the kicker. The personality ratings given to Asian students by admissions officers are vastly different than the personality ratings Harvard gets from its own alumni interviewers who actually meet the applicants in person. Alumni interviewers score Asian applicants as high as whites. In other words, Harvard artificially and fraudulently downgrades Asians on personality to get the results it wants. And what Harvard wants is to suppress the number of Asian Americans admitted. Based on the data that Harvard was forced to turn over, economist Peter Asadiakono of Duke University concluded that with the same application profile in terms of test scores, extracurricular activities, and personality factors, an Asian American male applicant would only have a 25% chance of admission versus 32% if white, 77% if Hispanic, and 95% if black. What's the real-life result of all this? In 2013, Asian Americans made up 19% of the incoming freshman class. According to Harvard's own Office of Institutional Research, if the personality factors had not been rigged, that percentage would have been 43%. Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 guarantees that no person in the United States shall, on the ground of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in or be denied benefits of or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Each year, Harvard takes hundreds of millions of dollars from the federal government. In Grutter v. Bollinger, the Supreme Court upheld the University of Michigan Law School's affirmative action policies, deciding that race could be used as a plus factor to achieve diversity, but never as a quota. Yet by placing strict limits on the percentage of Asian American applicants it will admit, racial quotas are exactly what Harvard is using. One strongly suspects this quota system isn't limited to Harvard. In the last 10 years, Asian American students have been limited to an 18 to 22% presence across the Ivy League. Or maybe that's just a coincidence. Writing for the majority in Grutter v. Bollinger in 2003, Justice Sandra Day O'Connor wrote that the court expects that 25 years from now, the use of racial preferences will no longer be necessary to further the interest approved today. With less than a decade to go, the Ivy League shows no indication that it's giving up on those racial preferences. Instead, these colleges have doubled down. Objective standards regarding admissions continue to be increasingly disfavored as the illegal goal of racial balancing is advanced. This racial balancing is justified by the left's desire to achieve racial diversity. Its insistence on seeing every person only through the prism of race, as if the most important thing any of us has to offer is the color of our skin. Not long ago, that was called racism. It's still called racism. It needs to end once and for all for the sake of deserving Asian American students, for the sake of Harvard's own integrity, and for the sake of the American principle that the rules must be the same for everyone. Chief Justice of the Supreme Court John Roberts said it best. The way to stop discrimination on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on the basis of race. It's time we did just that. I'm Lee Chang of the Asian American Legal Foundation for Prager University.
Of course, I think Prager University does a phenomenal job with their video content. I would suggest everybody go follow them. I think they do great stuff with some of these videos explaining the intricacies of some policies that can get a bit wonky, that if you're not a real policy wonk, people may, kind of fall asleep in the weeds on, which I can totally understand. Of course, we wouldn't be in politics, we wouldn't be understanding the concept of politics if we didn't know what came next. We didn't understand what came next. So obviously, people were not too thrilled about this. One person who was definitely not thrilled was Chief Hiawatha herself, Elizabeth Warren. Here is her tweet. An extremist Supreme Court has once again reversed decades of settled law, rolled back the march towards racial justice, and narrowed the educational opportunities for all. I won't stop fighting for young people with big dreams who deserve an equal chance to pursue their futures. I do think it is kind of ironic that the Supreme Court has rolled back the concept of racial quotas at Harvard, the exact same place that Elizabeth Warren lied to get a job at. See, she pretended not to be white in order to get a job at Harvard. But I would be remiss if I did not bring up the fact that even still, Harvard is still playing stupid games and winning stupid prizes. So this was the statement from Harvard yesterday. Today, the Supreme Court delivered its decision in Students for Fair Admissions versus President and Fellows of Harvard College. The court held that Harvard College's admission process does not comply with the principles of the Equal Protection Clause embodied in Title 11 of the Civil Rights Act. The court has also ruled that colleges and universities may, in admissions decisions, quote, an applicant's decision on how race affected his or her lives, be it through discrimination, inspiration, or otherwise, we will certainly comply with the court's decision. So Harvard is already saying that even though the court has told them they can't use race, they're going to find a little workaround in order to do that. Now, they're not the only ones who have done this. They're not the only ones who have done this. If we look to our local schools, they are not thrilled. They are not thrilled, and apparently also they all use the same PR firm in order to get their point across. They decide they're all going to use the same PR firm. Before we get to that, a word from the great Mike Lindell.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets, sleepwear, dog beds.
Whoa, Charles. Everyone now can get MyPillow products at huge discounts at MyPillow.com. That's right. Now's the time to go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our 3-in-1 sale. We're bringing you exciting new products, overstock specials, and closeout deals you won't find anywhere else. For example, when you buy one of our brand new MyPillow 2.0s, you get another one absolutely free. And with our overstock sale, you save 50% on our luxurious Giza Dream bed sheets. That's as low as $29.99 for the best sheets ever. And with our biggest closeout special, you get our all-season slippers for only $35. Or our sandals and slides for just $25. Quantities are limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Guys, please do support the people who support this show. Head on over to MyPillow.com. Promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com. Promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. I want to thank Mike Lindell for supporting shows like this one all over the place. So, our local universities, they're not thrilled about this. This comes from Newsday. They decided they were going to find all the college presidents and quote them. And it's so funny when you see the language they all use. I wonder if we've heard these words before. So the State University of New York Chancellor John King and SUNY Board trustees said in a statement, the commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion will continue to be a factor in every goal we pursue, every program we create, every policy we promulgate, and every decision we make. SUNY Old Westbury president wrote that the campus message that he fears the court decision may have a chilling effect among black and brown students, and the, quote, unfortunate ruling underscores my ongoing insistence that the world needs Old Westbury graduates now more than ever. I don't know why we would need more Old Westbury graduates. I don't even know anyone that even went there, but that's not the point. Farmingdale State, Farmingdale, that real big school, that we definitely can't do without. The school is a majority-minority institution. that is representative of the diversity of Long Island and the metropolitan area. Stony Brook, which will be housing illegal immigrants very soon. The school has recognized that a diverse and inclusive campus community is vital for a meaningful educational experience, as well as student growth and success in an increasingly diverse and global workforce. Hofstra, here we go. Now we're going to get to the fun ones. Hofstra University President Susan Posner said in a statement that the university will continue to follow a, quote, holistic admissions process. What the hell does that mean? Malloy, the whitest school on planet Earth. The school does not expect the ruling to have any tangible impact on its admissions process. NYIT, the school does not consider race in admissions because we work hard to attract a talent pool of applicants who represent a community of color. I'm not sure why I need that in my technology school, but okay. And St. Joe's, we're back to the holistic approach to admissions. So, what does that mean? These schools are going to find ways around it because all they care about is the diversity of the way people look, not their ideas, not how they think, not their life experiences. It turns out that if you have a whole bunch of rich kids, but they're all black, that's somehow better than having a mix and match of poor people and rich people and middle class people, some black, some white, some Asian, or the entire idea of a merit-based system. I wouldn't care. And look, Harvard's been doing this for decades. In the 20s and 30s, they did it against Jews. In the 40s, 50s, and 60s, they did it against blacks. Now they're doing it against Asians. It wasn't okay when they did it against Jews. It wasn't okay when they did it against blacks. And it's not okay now that they're doing it against Asians. Moreover, the fact that these schools are able to use these essays as such an important part of their factors coming in just shows you how easy it is for legacies to get in. What's a legacy? Well, if your parents went there, if your grandparents went there, if your dad donated a wing to a school, or if he paid for the gym to be redone, that's a good way to get yourself into the university. If your parents, named Felicity Huffman, or the daughter of the woman from Full House, whose name I will never remember. That's how these things tend to happen. That's how legacy admissions tend to happen. Regular people, you don't get that sort of stuff. No, because your mom wasn't Aunt Becky on Full House. I've never understood the concept of that. Hopefully we will begin to see a diversion from this in the job markets as well. Because guess what? When I'm laying on the floor in a fiery building, I don't really care who the person is that pulls me out of that fiery building. I don't care if he's black. I don't care if he's white. I don't care if he's Hispanic or Asian. I don't care if he's a woman. As long as you can get my fat ass up off the floor. So we shall see. We shall see how this affects affirmative action in housing, affirmative action in employment, going down the line. We'll see if Harvard even complies. I doubt that they will, because Harvard is. I do find it really funny how many people on the Supreme. I think two of them, Ketanji Brown Jackson and Elena Kagan, came out of Harvard. So the two Supreme Court judges, the only two judges on the Supreme Court who went to Harvard happened to be people of color. I just find that funny. I don't know. Is Elena Kagan white? I'm not really sure. I'm not totally sure. But we've got a few more stories I do want to dive into. One that I'm very excited about, and normally I don't really take pleasure in people's misfortune, but I'm going to right now because I genuinely don't like this person. Geraldo Rivera has been fired from Fox News, which is very exciting. I'm super excited about that because he was obviously the worst member of Fox News. This is a man who made an entire career, a 60-year career, out of failing, out of being wrong. So Fox News is continuing to clean house over there after they got rid of Tucker. Now they got rid of Geraldo Rivera. I can say good riddance to you. Good riddance to you, Geraldo. You're one of the worst people in journalism. I got some stories coming up that you guys are not going to believe. You're absolutely not going to believe them because, you know, in the world that we live in now, there's nothing more important than going after people's lemonade stands. See, this is the kind of shit that the government is really worried about. So I remember as a kid, people did lemonade stands. You'd see them on the side of the road. Sometimes somebody's having a garage sale, maybe their kids will set up a lemonade stand. Well, not in Alabama. An Alabama mother has been contacted by the state labor board over her 8-year-old son's lemonade stand. Right. Because of all the things Alabama's got to worry about, it's this 8-year-old's lemonade stand. The Alabama mother says the state labor department contacted her after receiving a complaint alleging she was violating child labor law by offering an apprenticeship for other neighborhood kids at her 8-year-old's lemonade stand. Cameron Johnson started the stand in 2022 when he was just 7 years old to save up for a trip to Disney. Wow. The young entrepreneur's mother, Crystal Johnson, said that their problem started after she put up an ad saying her son was offering a one-day internship for a smiler and a greeter at the stand. Here is the flyer she put up. Obviously, this is adorable, and it's something that I wish more kids would get involved with. Little young entrepreneur that they are. But apparently the state labor board didn't find this as good as the rest of us. On July 8th, Cameron's Lemonade will employ 2 kids, 6 years old to 10 years old, Johnson wrote in a social media post. We will open from 2 to 6. You can drop them off with us at the truck for a 2-hour shift and pick them up at the end of their day. Just something nice. Johnson added that she hoped to help build self-esteem, help them with counting, speaking like a big kid, following directions, and some good old fun. But that was too much. That was too much for the Alabama Board of Labor. And this is why we don't need these things. This is why we don't need boards of labor. I mean, could you imagine? Imagine you work at this government entity, and this comes across your desk. This comes across your desk. Do you not just throw it in the trash? Do you not just remove it from your site immediately? You're going to go investigate this? According to a report from Yahoo News, Johnson said the U.S. Department of Labor representative she spoke to understood what she was trying to do, but the event needed to be nixed because she could have profited from a child working for her if the lemonade was sold. This is so bothersome. It's unreal. Now Johnson said she's planning another event and will check with her contact in the department first. They'll have a similar event, but no lemonade will be sold to customers that day, she said. Unbelievable. You know, but this is the kind of stuff that we worry about. The micro. We talked about it earlier in the week on the show. How in order to fight climate change, now you have people going after wood fire stoves in New York. Never mind all the pollution that comes from the smokestacks along the Garden State Parkway. No. We're not going to go after that because those people are donors to the local political parties. We're not going to go after that crap. If you wanted to fight climate change, that would be the way to do it. It wouldn't be going after mom and pop pizza places who have wood-burning stoves. But this is what Democratic policies are. They focus on the micro, ignore the macro, and then tell you that they are a better person than you for doing so. They tell you that they're a better person than you for doing so. It's the same thing. It's the soft bigotry of low expectations. Democrats, we don't expect much out of Democrats, we don't get much out of them. And that's why I go after Republicans so hard. Because I expect great things from them. I never get them, but I expect them. I got one more story for you before we wrap up today. I could keep going through the amount of nonsense that the amount of nonsense on this affirmative action thing, because it bothers me so much that the white savior complex that so many white liberals have, that blacks and minorities need them to come save them. I don't believe that. I think black people can do it on their own. I think that perhaps more than an affirmative action program, I think what would help young black people would be to have two parents in the home, to have fathers who stay around, to have a good sense of community, to engage in extracurricular activities. I think these things would benefit young black people a little bit more than a handout from Elizabeth Warren. Unbelievable. But and you know what I'm sorry, I'm a little flustered about this because it's upsetting. It's upsetting in so many ways, particularly for the young black kids. Because I know that if I had to walk around all day like with this air of feeling as though I was a diversity hire or a diversity admission, like that would upset me. I wouldn't want that. I'd want to know I got in on the merits. The problem with it is that particularly at Harvard, what Harvard does is they rate people on a scale from 1 to 10. With the exact same grades, exact same SAT scores. An Asian student would have to be rated a 10, where a black student would have to be rated a 4. I don't know. Does that seem fair to you guys? And we've talked about it on the show before. What Bill de Blasio tried doing this with a lot of the schools in New York City. He tried doing it with Stuyvesant High School and Brooklyn Tech and Bronx School of Science, which I've openly said numerous times. That school is not for regular people. Those schools are for geniuses. I think their average SAT score is like 1580, something wild like that. Where if you send a person who is not academically prepared for those types of universities, for those types of schools, they're going to fail out of the schools. And it's not about intelligence. Most of the time, it's about work ethic. It's about being able to put in 3-4 hours worth of studying a day. And that's not an inability. It's a not wanting to. I'm not dumb. But when I was in high school, I didn't put in the work to get the sorts of grades I could have if I had wanted to. Thus, putting a person with the sort of work ethic I had in a Stuyvesant University would be very bad for them. And it's amazing because some of the reactions coming out on Twitter, it is, some people are doing things out there that are so racist that people can't tell if the accounts are real or not. They can't tell whether or not the accounts are real. I don't know if this account is real. I've been having some fun with it all day. Today's Supreme Court decision is a direct attack on black people. No black person will be able to succeed in a merit-based system, which is exactly why affirmative action-based programs were needed. Today's decision is a travesty, and people are having a lot of fun with this. Russ, I don't know if it's real. Russ, I genuinely don't know if it's real, but people are having some fun. Ron Coleman, the phenomenal lawyer, he's diving in. Landon Starbuck, Chloe Cole, the famous detransitioner, jumping in. Brandon Dilley, host of the Dilley Show, good friend of mine. He thinks it's a parody account. Justine Murray, former Miss New Jersey, thinks it's a parody account. Robbie Starbuck, he's a former congressional candidate in Tennessee. The Hodge twins, they're jumping in. Everybody's having a good time. No one even knows if this is real or not. having a little bit of fun here because this one just keeps going. She says she's not a parody, but who the hell knows? I mean, that's how weird things are getting here. That's how weird stuff is right now, that people don't know whether or not people don't even know if the comments being made by some people are real or if they're phony. It's a strange time out there. It's a real strange time out there. Alrighty, guys, I'm going to wrap up right now. Guys, I will be back at 1 p.m. on LFA TV. Rumble.com/LFA TV. Let's see. Also, guys, make sure you stay tuned. I'm going to be posting the interview with Jack Posobiec and James O'Keefe in the coming days. Probably sometime next week. Make sure you guys stay tuned for that at LFA TV. Make sure you guys are subscribed to Rumble.com/LFA TV. Austin, I don't know what that emoji means, but guys, I will be back at 1 p.m. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. Head on over to LoudMajorityUSA.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out the shop. Also, guys, if you guys are interested, one more day to buy tickets. Cornel West. Cornel West is something else. He is an interesting guy, and he's going to screw Joe Biden, and I'm very excited about it. He's going to screw over Joe Biden, and I'm very, very excited about it. Maybe we'll dive into that a little bit at 1 o'clock. I like that. Alrighty, guys, I will see you back at 1 p.m. on LFA TV on Rumble. Until then, everybody, stay loud.